A modern computer operating system acts as a hidden layer of code, dictating how millions of individual components interact without crashing. Ancient empires faced a similar challenge, coordinating the behavior of millions of people to prevent social collapse. In early China, this coordination was achieved through the Liji, or the Book of Rites. Compiled during the turbulent warring states and Han periods, it served as a systematic framework for early Chinese society. The Liji is part of a broader canon known as the Sunli, or the Three Ritual Classics. Alongside the Jiaoli and the Yili, it formed the primary structural blueprint for Chinese civilization. The text was not the work of a single author. It began as a scattered corpus of 131 distinct chapters, gathered by various scholars during the former Han dynasty. The version that eventually became the orthodox standard was curated by the scholar Dai Sheng. He filtered the initial collection down to a specific 49-chapter compilation. This compilation addresses a wide array of human activity. It dictates everything from the cosmological proceedings of government in the Yueling chapter to the specific rules of local archery tournaments in the Shei. The Liji codified imperial order through three specific vectors: spatial hierarchy, material limits, and emotional regulation. By translating abstract philosophical ideals into concrete observable behaviors, the text provided a structural logic that successive dynasties would adopt and refine. The first factor of this system is space. The chapter titled Ming Tong Wei, or the Positions in the Hall of Distinction, maps political power directly onto architectural geography. In the Hall of Distinction, the ruler stands centrally, facing south. The three dukes stand directly in front. Subordinates follow strict XY coordinates on the eastern and western steps. Counts and barons station at the gates. Your status is defined by your exact physical coordinate. This logic extends from spatial geography to material quantization. Status dictated specific limits on material resources, even in the context of death. These textual rules manifested in physical clothing, such as the uniform mourning garments seen here. The Songfu Daji, or Greater Records of Mourning Dress, quantifies the expression of grief through strict inventory limits. This visualization shows the precise burial dress metrics allowed for different ranks. A ruler is permitted 100 suits of clothing, while a great officer is limited to 50, and a common officer to 30. This suggests an authority rooted in the very geometry of the environment and the clothing on one's back, making rank visible in every public and private interaction. The Liji also seeks to regulate internal experience. The mandatory 3-year mourning period for a parent serves as a primary case study for these regulations. The text justifies these rules as being established in harmony with men's feelings, rather than as arbitrary punishments. The system anticipates that emotional pain follows a predictable timeline, peaking early and tapering off over 25 months. To manage this peak grief, the ritual imposes extreme physical constraints: wearing jagged sackcloth, living in a temporary shed, and sleeping on a clod of earth. These harsh physical conditions provide a fixed container for personal sorrow, ensuring that the extremity of grief is processed without disrupting the social order. There is a mandatory termination point. Regardless of whether the individual still feels sorrow, the ritual dress must end after 25 months. This forces the individual to transition out of isolation and resume their practical duties to the living state. By treating emotion as a variable that requires a fixed processing timeline, the Liji sought to prevent individual despair from becoming a source of social instability. This rigorous programming also mitigates friction in micro-social interactions, particularly among the armed, highly competitive nobility at banquets. The game of tohu, or pitchpot, where guests throw arrows into a vessel, is a clear example of scripted social de-escalation. Before the game begins, the host and guest must complete the sanqi, or threefold decline. This mandatory behavioral loop requires the guest to refuse the host's invitation 3 times before the accept pathway is finally triggered. This micro-scripting is mirrored at the macro level in the Liji's institutional design for education. The chapter Shegji, or Record of Studies, provides a 9-year blueprint for the development of the ruling class. The curriculum follows a strict staircase of competency. By year 1, students test on reading. By year 3, on social integration. Higher levels follow. Year 5 extends studies. Year 7 develops complex discourse. In year 9, students reach grand attainments, marking them fit for government. From a simple dinner party to a decade of schooling, the Li Ji provided a framework to remove chance from political life. The Li Ji remained a central text because it contained standardized protocols for nearly every significant social challenge. Successive dynasties mined this source material to update their state ideologies, a process that intensified during the Song dynasty. Scholars extracted the Dakshui, or Great Learning, and the Zhongyang, or Doctrine of the Mean, from the Li Ji. They merged these with the works of Mencius and Confucius to form the Shishu, the 4 books that would define Chinese education for centuries. Through the work of commentators like Zheng Xuan and Kong Yingda, these specific interpretations became the basis of the mandatory imperial examination system. This entire system was designed to give physical and social form to the philosophical ideals associated with Confucius. The Li Ji aligned the physical environment, material resources, and human psychology into a single, cohesive structure. By codifying these recurring patterns of behavior, the text established the structural foundations that would define the traditional Chinese socio-political order for generations.